Hey, Bayek, it's me Ian. And in today's video, we're going to look at Fragment of Fear from 1970. And this is a fascinating film, which I can see why it might split opinion. It is very interesting in many ways. What goes on in the making of this film apparently is interesting and perhaps explains a lot of things. But it's one of those films where you're still wondering about it. You don't know how good it is, or is it as good as it thinks it is, or doesn't it think it? Oh, I don't know. It's one of those films where you just are still in your mind thinking, I think it's enjoyable, and it's one that I will come back to, definitely. But it asks a lot of questions. It really does. Well, in my mind, anyhow. Anyhow, it might not to you, but it does to me. But anyhow, okay, this film is 94 minutes long. It just, I think it goes by really quickly, but some people might not do. Rotten Tomatoes perhaps reflects this division, I think, about this film. 40%. Yeah, I'd say that's quite an interesting reflection. Even on reassessment, I think people will certainly be critical still. It was written by Paul Diem, who also was one of the producers of this film as well. Now, it was based on a story, A Fragment of Fear by John Bingham. Now, Paul Ding, as a screenplay writer, is quite interesting. He was the screenplay writer for Goldfinger. Yeah, Goldfinger, 1964, the James Bond classic. And then, what got me really excited, he did all the Planet of the Apes screenplays, apart from the very first one. Beneath the Planet of the Apes, 1970, Escape from Planet of the Apes. Let's see, Battle of the Planet of the Apes, Conquest of the Planet of the Apes. He did all these fantastic films. Also, he did the classic Murder on the Orient Express, 1974. Questions. You're thinking then he did all these films, and this what makes for a very interesting screenplay. It really does. I don't know, but yes, it's very interesting. So the director was Richard Sarafin, and he's very much a massive TV director. The major film I could see in his filmography is Vanishing Point, which is quite a classic film from 1971. This film was filmed at Shepperton Studios. The location work is fantastic, and I think the location work really adds to this film, and perhaps some might say it helps a lot. Yes. Anyhow, location was at Pompeii, yes, Pompeii and Sorrento in Italy. Then there was a lot around London. You see, I always love that, seeing all this from that era, especially in London in 1970. You get all that. And then Seaford in Essex. So that's great. And you've got a jazz score by Johnny Harris, which is really good. I really like that. So we've got that. Let's get to the cast. The cast, of course, is headed by David Hemmings, who plays Tim Brett. Hemmings is the actor whose star shone in the 60s and into the 70s. and then it kind of sank to some extent, unfortunately. But he's a very intriguing character as well, from what you read and hear. 4 marriages, a lot of shenanigans with women, and was he? Some have even said, was he going to be another Oliver Reed, even with his drinking? But I don't think he got into that area. But yeah, that's just in his personal life as a character. And let's see, I think he made his name, and this overshadowed his career in with Blow Up from 1966. That's such a classic film, and it's so influential as well. But that film really made his name. He was of course in quite a few films in this period, but I'll just mention favourites of mine. Barbarella. He was in Barbarella. Yes, Barbarella. You can't go wrong, can you? As in Barbarella. And I think then just a bit later than this, 1975, he was in Deep Red. Yes, you all know that. The Argento film, Deep Red, which I think is a great film. Fantastic film. He was in that. So, yes, fantastic. But the whole list, it's just a massive list of films. And then he descended later his career into TV. Now, the next, there's a lot of actors in this film, actors, who play relatively small parts. It's quite a strange film in that you've got these various people, and they come in and out at various points, not in their presence that long, but they're there. Anyhow, his wife in real life, Gail Honeycutt, he'd married her before this film, and then their relationship, I think she was his second wife, but she appears as Juliet Bristow, who is like his fiance, who he's going to marry. That's quite a significant part in the film. Films I noticed that she was in, Legend of Hell House, 1973. I think that's the one with Roddy McDowall. That's a fascinating film. She was in that. Anyhow, let's go on to these other actors' faces that you might recognise. I won't go. There is quite a few. I won't do too many, but Wilfred Hyde White. He plays Mr. Copsey. He's not in it a great deal, but he's there, and he stands out. He goes right back, playing these certain parts. Films I can just point out was the Cat and the Canary from 1978. But there's so many other films. But that is a fascinating horror film. But for me, it's funny. I remember him in Buck Rogers in 25th Century, 1981. He was in that. Yes. Wow. Anyhow, move on. Well, we've got a real classic actress, Flora Robson. Flora Robson's career in films goes right back to 1931. She was a actress, theatre, everything. And in terms of films, I look at the Tygon film, The Beast in the Cellar from 1971. She was in that. Yes, she was in that. But I mean, she's not in it a great deal in this film, but she's in it anyhow. But she's a big name, Then we've got another interesting actor, Aldolf Selly. He plays Signor Bardone. You instantly recognize his face. You see him, Italian, Thunderball. He was the big villain in Thunderball, yes, 1965. He was also in another film that I really liked, that period, a war film, Von Ryan's Express, 1965, which starred Frank Sinatra. He was in that. Anyhow, that adds a certain yes to this film. Then we've got Daniel Massey playing Major Roberts. Vault of Terror, 1973. Amicus was the film that I looked at. Then we've got Arthur Lowe. Yeah, Arthur Lowe playing Mr. Nugent. He's famously Captain Mannering TV series 1968 to 1977, Dad's Army. He was in that. Fantastic. It certainly was in Theatre of Blood 1973, which I absolutely love. Then we got another interesting actress, Eutha Joyce. Yeah, Eutha Joyce plays Miss Ward Cabret. She was such a loved TV actress, Eutha Joyce. She was in Man About the House, 1973, 1976, and of course films like George and Mildred, 1976 to 1979. She was much loved, but here she is in this film. And then we've got Glyn Edwards again. He plays the CID superintendent, a policeman role. Robbery. He was in Robbery, 1967, and of course Get Carter, 1971. So you're saying to yourself, what is this film about? Well, that's a good start. Well, the basic premise of the film is this reformed addict is now arrived as the David Hemmings character, Tim. He investigates the death of his aunt, who he was strangled, yes, and the ruins of Pompeii, and happened to be discovered by the Gail Honeycutt character, Juliet, who he happens to form a relationship with. And then he decides that he's going to investigate this murder. Yes, this murder, as he sees it. He wants to find out what happened for a woman who was supposedly helping reformed criminals. Taking an interest in his book, which as a former addict he'd written, and this is how the film sort of sees. But all is some very strange things start to see. We have, in fact, a story of murder. We have even espionage. We have police investigation. And we have madness. Yeah, madness. Because the heart of the story is all what you are seeing real? Is it just going on in his mind? Is he not the reformed drug addict? We don't see any usage of using the drugs, going back to his ways, but as the treatment that he had in hospital somehow damaged him mentally, we don't know, but that's left up to you. Or is this really happening? And just nobody. We've got the classic situation when nobody believes him. But from what you gather on this, the background stories, for instance, are fascinating. There's a story that David Hemmings, after a week of filming, somebody asked him about the film, and he said he hadn't read the script yet, and then he had read it and didn't like it. And yes, and there's things about the director with his drink. There's the whole thing is just interesting. What is going on in the background? It's like these actors appear, they're quite sort of well known as we see them now, and they make appearances and then disappear, might come back a bit again. The director, to be fair to him, I think does quite an interesting job, and you start to get this, is it real? Dreams, you almost get the dream state kind of feel to it, and that is so important to the film. But I can see why people might wonder, what the hell's going on here? What the hell is going on? And is it worth it? Is the ending? The ending leaves it kind of open. It makes me want to go back and watch it again, which I did actually. I watched it for a second time, because you quite wonder, but is it really just, isn't it that good? Is the script so bad, and what is going on behind the scenes, is it as good? I don't know, really. But all I know is I did enjoy it. And that's it. So you can't say fairer than that. So what I've got here is the 2022, so it's quite a recent release on Indicator. Here it is. Look at that cover, fantastic cover. There's there isn't really a great deal of extras on this, but the book is more worth looking at. There's the disc. This book, if you can get hold of it, though, obviously they do it in the first run. And then you don't get the book. But look at that picture of David Hemmings. Is he? Well, yes. I don't know. It's interesting. But yes, I highly recommend watching this. But I don't know. Some of you just really may not. If they think it's, oh, heck, what's going on here? But anyway, I enjoyed it. You've got to say that. But I did, yeah. Even though he makes you scratch your head a bit. Yeah. Anyhow, if you're new to this channel, please subscribe. And if you have subscribed, great, fantastic. If you haven't, please, it doesn't cost out. And if you like this video, please give it a like. It'll be fantastic. And it costs no. It all costs no. And if you've got any comments, please put your comments down. I love to read your comments. I really do. Fantastic. And that's it, really. I hope you enjoyed it. Oh, perhaps you didn't. I don't know. Anyhow, all I gotta say is, I'll see thee again.